Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Have you ever wondered what games you should sell or you should use? Find out here at Purge Reviews. Find out on our top 10 list what games you cannot miss. Don't forget to subscribe to Purge Reviews.
Go West, right? So you have the Old West theme, which I love. I like Tasty Minstrel games. It had a lot going for it. It's got nice components. It's on the wooden side, okay? So like these generic wooden pieces, it's fine. Everything looks good. They've done a lot to theme this game. The box looks fantastic. So what do you get? An abstract game. Did you expect an abstract game from a Western game? You don't see that a lot, right? These pasted on themes that really don't serve a purpose much at all. Why in the game do you get a wanted poster for building a camp versus building a settlement? Because you happen to have a black and green cube versus both a black and green cube. It's just silly. So let's take the theme, throw it out the window, and this isn't Carson City. This isn't a thematic game whatsoever, like Bang or Spurs. Spurs is very thematic. What you're going to get here is this abstract game where you're playing a little bit Mancala by yourself. You're getting the goods out and you're able to spend them. Whenever you get off, there's different things you can do with them. You know, it's like your turns almost become scripted a little bit, because if I have an orange cylinder by itself, I can only do one thing. I can move up that shipping trap, right? If I get a yellow and an orange cylinder, then I could get some end-of-game scoring if that's the way I want to go, or move up the shipping track. If it just so happens I get a lot of stuff, I might want to look at those investment cards. So if you're able to get one of those combinations out, and perhaps you plan for it, then you'll be able to score those big-time victory points. Otherwise, you kind of just deal with what you're given through the Mancala system. Yes, you have a decision in that. You have the point system of how far away you place them, and then can be very, very powerful over the life of the game if you're putting everything onto 3. And then you have, you're trying to get these combinations out at the same time, which sounds like it would give you more decisions, but kind of limits your decisions a little bit, because sometimes you're much better off getting that settlement, I think, than getting that camp. Overall, I find it as a fine game. It's an abstract, which isn't going to appeal to me greatly. It does what it tends to do. I like it enough that I'm going to keep it around. The theme probably, even though the theme is pasted on, it probably plays for itself. I'm going to keep an abstract, which I need a few in my collection. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this one. I'm going to give it a try before you buy, though, for you. I'm going to say that, if you have a lot of abstracts or you like them, this is one that you'll want to try out. If you're looking to just have 1 or 2 in your collection, try this one out and make sure it's going to fit what you need before you play it. There are some interesting decisions. I like the Mancala aspect of it. That's fun. But you need to play to the scoring. It's abstract. It's not going to pull you in. There's nothing about the components you're going to look at and say, wow, that's awesome. It's actually going to look very dry and bland on the table. I think what is going to appeal to people is likely the scoring and kind of how you get the cylinders, the Mancala aspect. I don't think there's a whole lot outside of that. I don't think you're going to look at this and say, wow, this is a brilliant design, or this is going to blow the board gaming world apart. Instead, you're just going to get a solid game that when you play, you're like, that was fun, but I don't think it's going to grab you and pull you back in. I don't think that's going to happen. So Go West. It's a tepid keeper, I would say. If you're looking for something like this in your collection, then this could be it, but otherwise, swim away. Here are the components for Gold West, a Tasty Minstrel game. I think the box looks really cool because it kind of looks like a crate from the Old West. Did a very good job. The lettering is really nice on the side of it. You can see that little gold twinge right there. Very nice. You're going to get a nice rule book. This is an abstract game, and the rules are pretty good. Not my favorite rule book in the world. The color's a little dry, but it's made to look like that, like it's from the Old West. Let me move this off to the side. You're going to get a number of player boards. A little flimsy, but they just kind of sit on the back. They do have the logo on the back, and they have this little cool look on it, but you will never see it because it will always be flat on the board. So we'll set those aside. You do have a modular board that will be set up that you're going to have to put together in these puzzle pieces. You're either going to like that or hate it, but once it's put together, it won't bother you at all. And I think they did that so it'll fit in the box maybe a little bit easier. I don't know. But it fits the better just like a puzzle. And then you'll be building the center of it with these pieces. So every time you play, it's a little bit random, as you will be with the scoring down here, which will be made up of these very thick and very nice tiles. Now, one thing you'll notice about the game to start out with is that, you know, it's a little bland. It's going for that thematic look. And these will fit kind of down here. These are just thick cardboard that fit right into the board. You'll also notice a lot of the pieces are just cylinders that you know, wooden cylinders you're used to. You got the pieces here for the guys that look like trains that'll be moving across there and up there. Otherwise, it's just cylinders and pieces of colors of just wood. You've seen those a lot. Nothing here that you haven't seen before. Now, these are going to be the main pieces on the board that will be played. These are little circular cardboard pieces. They're fairly thick. I mean, everything in here is very nicely made. It's very abstract, so it's going to get the colors that will be put out there. But very nice, and the components are actually quite good in this game, if not a little generic. I do like the fact that they let the board be set up differently every time. It's a very nice. You're going to see the little wanted poster here just for thematic purposes. I mean, they're trying really hard to make this theme come alive in an abstract game. The rules for Go West are always going to be difficult to comprehend, only for the fact that it's an abstract. It doesn't fit with the theme, so the theme isn't going to help you understand it more. You really just got to go through it. Like, if you get some of these cylinders, this is what you can do. After that, with the cubes, the wooden cubes, when you have those, this is what you can do. And then, if you can't do anything with the wooden cubes, you get negative points, right? That's really how you have to teach this game, because it's not going to make sense. You know, it's not like you, oh, I'm going to the saloon and I'm going to shoot people up. Okay, that makes sense with an Old West theme. That's not going to happen here. You're kind of gold digging by using Mancala. Oh, okay, let's see how this works out. More than it's going to help you with there. So you just got to have that through that repetition, learn the game. And some people are going to struggle with that, like, okay, let me visualize this. What can I do again? The rules are fine. They explain the game, the scoring, and all that. There's examples and pictures. It does a good job. Let me talk about the setup just a little bit here. So this board in the center, you're going to have the lake going through it to make the pieces fit that you saw from the component section. So every time you play, this is going to be different. It's going to sit flat. The scoring for the game, of how you can score more points, this is different every time you play. There's a whole bag of things that you could use. I just happen to set this up randomly. So there is very much a modular description and setup to this game. So what you're going to do is you're going to set the board up. You're going to have these little tiles that you're going to put them on the matching color. It'll fill the whole board up. You're also going to pick randomly 8 of these investments, which just means if somebody ever gets this combination, they can cash it in for these cards. So every time you play, this will be a little bit different, and you'll kind of see how that works, but those are the investment cards. This is going to be a little bit different, and then the values over here for the investments that you'll be getting will be a little bit different. This will always be the same, and you have the scoring track around it. The first thing I want to do is show you how the player mat works. So I'll show you how you get this stuff to work this in a second, but I'll show you how this works. When you end up getting one of these, and once again, I'm not showing you how you do it, but when you do, you'll be filling this up across the side of the board, right? And the more you get, the higher you go on those tracks. So that's fairly easy to understand for scoring purposes. On this track, now this is where the game is kind of interesting and where it's going to work for you or against you. It's going to be the Mancala part of the game. So let's say you have the game set up like this, and this just happens to be where your resources are. This is a black cube. You can't see the black on black, but there's a black cube there. So you're going to take everything from one section and place one in each one. Now you get to decide, and then whatever's left over, you get to play this turn. So if this was the turn, I could place a yellow there and set myself up for next time. Maybe I need 3 yellow, and I would have one of these grays to produce this time. If I was here, I put one here. Sorry, I pick one here, here, and I would have the yellow left over. Now, if I picked up this 3 and I wanted to move it up, I wouldn't have any to play this turn. And that's going to happen sometimes that you won't have any cubes or cylinders to play this round. That's okay. That will happen. It's not probably in your best interest, or something happened, or you're playing for a bigger move next time, but it will happen. So, and the reason why is when you place goodies here, and I'll show you how that works in a second, you're going to get 3 points if you place it down here, 2 here, 1 here, and 0 if you play it where it can be next. So you have an incentive to play it further away, but just know that you're not going to be able to use them very effectively at that point. So that's kind of how the player board works. So the 3 refined ones you have are copper, silver, and gold. So this is copper, silver, and gold. And these are the ones you'll be trading in for these investment cards. So if you ever can get 2 gold and 2 silver to pop off, maybe you trade it in for 11 points. Or you get 4 copper to come off, you trade it in for 8, etc. So that's what you'll be doing with these a lot of times, or at least one possible option that you have. The second possible action you're going to have for those is you can utilize these down here. And when you do so, you'll take like a yellow and an orange or copper, and you can put a marker on this spot and you will score victory points based on what this tile does. Or perhaps you'd rather get this one, and you would place them like that. So each person can get one of these spots, and a lot of times these will either give you a bonus or score you victory points at the end. Like this big 4 just gives you 4 victory points. This one gives you 1 victory point per building in the longest line. So if you want to put your buildings on the board consecutively, you know, 1 victory point for each building, that can be very powerful. So knowing when to go after this and set yourself up, or maybe get this early and let this direct how you're going to play the game, is a viable option. You can use those for. You can also use those resources to ship up here. Okay, so you have this row that requires copper, this row that requires silver, and this row that requires gold. And what you'll be doing is you'll be coming up here, and if you cross this line, you get 2 points. You cross this line, you get 3. And there'll also be victory points on these 3. Whoever passes it first will get the highest victory point, and second, and so on, and opposed to doing the same thing here. So this is a way to use those resources to score points. 3 things. You have the investment cards, the boomtown, or this shipping track. The next thing you have to do is either build or loot. Now keep in mind, you're only using the resources that are coming off the Mancala track for this round. So with a black or a green, you can put a settlement out on the board. And a settlement are going to be these little markers right here. Okay? So that's what you would do. Give up one of those and you can put a settlement out. Now when you put a settlement out, you'll just flip one of these over. You'll put a settlement on it, and you'll get the resources that are listed on it. In this case, I would get 3 yellow cylinders. I would take those 3 yellow cylinders and put them on my player mat. Wherever I wanted to, I would score this number of victory points. If I didn't want to do that, if I had, say, a green and a black, I could then place what's called a settlement. The first one was a camp, so this one's a settlement. I can place this on it, okay, instead, and then I would get the resources that are listed on it. If I can't do either of those, I would need to loot. I would place a camp piece in the wanted section down here. Now, you always get -1 point when you place a camp down here, and you get -1 for each one at the end of the game if you have the most, -1 for every 2 if you have the second most down here. So this can really kill you, and you don't want to do that. You always want to try, if possible, strategy dictating, try to get at least one of these off so you can do so. Now, why would you want to build a camp versus a mining, right? So if you build a camp, I built that yellow, I would put it right here. If I build a settlement, which is green and black, I get to skip one and put it here, thus putting me quicker down the line. See how that works? So there's a hole here, but it counts as being there because I built a settlement instead of a camp. So if you can, building a settlement can be better than a camp. Great. So once I build here, and I place that here, my next action was everything adjacent to it now becomes known. So you have a little bit more information. So part of them I haven't built over here. And if I was to build here next turn, I would then, everything adjacent to it would become known. And then the next player would go, and the next player would go. So the first thing you would do on your turn, to reiterate, would be the Mancala, where you're trying to get things off. Take what you have. If it's one of these cylinders, then you would use it either in the shipping, the Boomtown, or an investment card. If you get one of these, the third step you would do, if you only had one, you'd have to build a camp, which would go on your player's sheet as one space. If you get both, green and a black, you could build a settlement, which lets you move up 2 spots. If you can't do either, you have to put it in the wanted spot. Now, at the end of the game, you're going to score. This is an abstract game, so it's all about scoring, right? At the end of the game, you're going to score 2 points per building in your largest continuous. So what you'll want to do, as time goes on, is build these connected. So at the end of the game, that would be 6 points. Do you also get any of your Boomtown extra scoring that you have down here? You would apply your penalties for being down here, and any terrain bonuses that you would get here. You award the terrain bonus to the player with the most and second most in each terrain. So if I had the most here, I would get that many points, and so on and so on. It is an abstract, so once you have the rules down, they kind of flow. It doesn't go into the theme that well. You're not going to be able to say, oh, this is just like going west, or this is just like being a 49er myself. But instead, once you have the rules, the abstract nature of it works pretty well. Who should buy this games? If you're a fan of gold digging or the Old West, hesitate. Make sure that this theme is going to be okay with the abstract game that you're going to have. People who like abstract games, plus if you like wonky scoring, plus if you like Mancala, plus otherwise it's so weird. It's like a collection of mechanisms, and I'm not sure. I guess they fit together. It makes sense, but it's like I'm going through these motions to do it because I did this more than it kind of flowing through a game. So try this one before you buy it. I'm going to keep it around a little bit longer because when I do bring it out, people tend to like it. I wouldn't say love it. Maybe average on it. No, it's pretty good. It's not one that's going to excite you, though. So buyer beware on this one. Thanks for watching. If you don't mind, subscribe to the channel. It really helps things out. If you like this, put a big likey. If you didn't like it, go to another video and dislike it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.